What we're going to do now is apply all that theory and learn about song construction and how to write songs. Now, writing songs is easy. You just play a few chords, you sing a little bit, and you have a written song. Writing good songs, however, is not so easy at all. Now, the classic formula for writing songs is that there is 10% inspiration, which is the great inspiration that you suddenly have, and then it's 90% hard work, and that's generally a rule of thumb. So when you get this great inspiration, a hot lick or a great riff or a groovy sounding chord progression there, from there you've really got to work on it to make it something good. What we can do is we can make things a little bit easier though by using our theory and using a little bit of common sense and another couple of formula type writing. So the first thing we have to know is we know about our 1, 4 and 5, the root, the subdominant and the dominant. They're the most three popular chords of any key, whether it be major or minor. So the root, the subdominant and the dominant, the 1, 4, 5. The next most popular chord is the sixth, which is a relative minor. Now this applies also in your minor key, although it won't be the relative major, the sixth, but the sixth is of course the next most popular chord in our key. So we've got the 1, 4, 5, the three most popular, and then of course the sixth if you need a bit of extra in there. Now on top of that, we're not just talking about just the major and minor chords that we play. We've also got to include some sevenths, some add nines, some sus2s and 4s, all that sort of stuff. And what they're called is they're flavour chords. They add a bit of flavouring over the top. For example, an A minor chord sounds very nice after a G. But if we wanted to give that a bit of a flavour, we could make it an A minor 7th chord, which is just a minor 7th shape. See the different sound we get there? We've suddenly flavoured it differently, and that's what we use all these chords for, flavouring and just for different sounds, so we don't just sound like we're playing major and minor the whole time. Naturally you can't use flavour chords on everything, but you can certainly use them on quite a few different chords to get quite a great different sound there. So that's major and minor and sevenths and sus4s and dominants and the rest of it there. That's our different sorts of shapes. Now that we know all our theory, all our chords and all our scales, and we understand how the chords relate back to our keys and that, we can really get on and start writing some songs now. So let's have a go at some songwriting. The first thing we have to learn about though is the structure of a song. All songs have some form of a structure. The most common structure of course is a simple ABA pattern, and it goes through to the pattern that we're going to be learning now, which is your classic top 40 success. It's the idea of having a verse, chorus, bridge, and then a chorus out with a fade type thing. And that's what most of the popular music today is structured like. Anyway, you can see on your screen and also in the book there's a graph there, and at the very end it peters off and says to top 40 success, which is quite correct. Let's have a look at the structure of it. It starts off with an intro. Now the intro of course is going to be your catch or your riff or your catchy little lick that you've got or great chord progression that you like. It's something that just catches the attention. It's caught your attention because you wrote it, but it's going to catch other people's attention because it sounds good. So that's what the intro is. From there you settle down into a nice verse. You have a nice easy verse using the chords out of whatever key you're in. Then you have a pre-chorus section there where you might just build a little bit of tension before the chorus. Then you have a chorus of course, and then you play the intro again, which reiterates your main theme of the great catch before you come into the second verse. You have your second verse, and then you come a pre-chorus, and then the second chorus. Now, as you can see by the graph and the tension meter type thing, the second chorus is really a little bit higher up. It's just getting a little bit more exciting for the listener. The listener's really enjoying it, and you're really enjoying playing it about this time. After that, then you have a good pre-chorus build up before the second chorus, and that's where all the action is happening in the second chorus. After that, you can see there's a lead break or a bridge section. Now, a lead break, of course, is an instrumental section. With our lead guitar, it'll be about the guitar playing a nice solo over the top of some chords or behind a bass line there. It could also just as easily be a saxophone or a piano or any other instrument really. It's a lead instrumental section. Then you have the bridge. A bridge is generally a change of key where you would change away or just something that sounds completely different there. It just reiterates things and again stops the ball rolling and starts the tension again before the third chorus, which is where it just sort of chorus and then fades out. So whether you have a bridge or a lead break section is not really relevant. You don't really need either, but you certainly should definitely look at having one anyway, otherwise your song can get a bit monotonous there with the verse, chorus. Just breaks things up in the middle there. So anyway, that's what our classic strong song structure is there. An introduction, a pre-chorus with your verses there, a pre-verse, a re-intro, first, second verses, first, second choruses, bridge and a lead break and then chorus out. And that's the structure we'll be using for most of the songs we'll be looking at throughout this course. Anyway, so study that and maybe even try and write a song yourself. Work out a particular key, work out your favourite chords and then start writing a song with a verse and a chorus, bearing in mind that you can't really start the verse and the chorus on the same chord of course, otherwise they'll sound exactly the same. And bearing in mind also that you should try and organise your things around 4 and 8 bar phrases. So you've got 4 beats to the bar, so generally you might want a verse to be either 4 or 8 bars in length. A chorus could be either 4, 8 or 16, and again, everything works in 2s, 4s, 8s and 16s with music. So have a bit of fun, have an enjoyment, and in the next lesson we're going to learn one of the songs that I wrote a few years ago. Let's have a look at a song that I wrote a few years ago. It was a bit of an anti-war statement at the time, like I think every musician has to write at some time or another. It's called War Bloody War, but it provides a fine example of us for the particular keys we're working in and the idea of song structure as well. So let's have a look at it. It starts off with an intro there. You can see it's a 2-bar phrase, and you'll see I've tabbed it out for you there and given you it all how it works. It's quite a tricky riff. Now the song is in the key of G, so the root chord of course is going to be the G chord. Now the next chord of the riff is 1 bar of G for the riff, and the next bar is a bar of C add 9. So we've got 1 bar of G and 1 bar of C add 9. And what we're doing is we're doing some little licks and riffs in there based around the E minor pentatonic scale which we learned earlier. So it's quite hard to play. I'll play it for you now. That's the riff there. That's the catchy part. That's the part that I came up with first, and that's the real hook of the song. Once you hear that, you want to hear some more. So that's played twice through as an intro to the song. Then from there you can see we have 8 bars for the verse. Let's have a look at the structure of it. It starts on the G chord, of course, because we're in the key of G, and it has a bar of A minor, which is the second chord in the key of G major, being a minor. Then it has a bar of C, which is the 4th, one of our popular chords, and then a chord of D, which is the 5th. So it pretty much follows our classic structure there. Now I strum these with a nice ballad type strum. They're just nice, easy, gentle strumming, trying to use the bass and treble differentiation like we did, that we worked on in the last course. I'll just play it through for you now. It's 8 bars long. On the D chord, I'm going to do some sus4 and sus2 type little riff there, just for a bit of flavouring, which is what we want to talk about, the flavouring type chords. We'll just see how it sounds. That just repeats again there. So it's a standard sort of a chorus there, just using the chords straight from the G major key that we know, and just doing a nice ballad type strum with bass and treble differentiation and a sus2, sus4 type pattern on the D chord there. So from there we then have the pre-chorus. Now this song needs a pre-chorus because the chorus starts on the chord of G again, as you can see. And if it starts on G again, we want the audience to be able to understand that this is a chorus and it's not just another verse. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to tell the difference there. So we have the pre-chorus. Now the pre-chorus, as our graph tells us, also builds the tension. So this works for 2 reasons. Number 1, of course, that we can build the tension, and number 2, that we then let the audience know that we've gone to a G chord of the chorus. So the little 2-bar pre-chorus, it's a C add 9 chord for half a bar, and then a G with a B bass for the other half, which I'm doing the G with a B bass, 3rd and 4th fingers down here on the 3rd fret on the 1st and 2nd strings, and the 1st finger comes up here and plays the B note for a B bass, and I'm muffling out the 6th string with the thumb. The last chord is an A7 sus4, which is an exciting flavour chord, where we put all we're doing is staying with that same shape, and I'm moving the 1st finger down from the 2nd fret of the 5th string to the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So that gives us an A bass with an E note next, then a G note, then a D, and then a G note again, which is an A7 sus4 again. What I do on that one, to make it interesting, to make us, because we've been strumming the whole time now apart from the riff, and we make it a little bit interesting before we come to the chorus, so I just do one gentle strum and then an arpeggio pattern across it, which is quite nice, and it lets us know we're at the chorus there. So the entire pre-chorus is a, and then we're ready for the chorus. So let's have a look at the chorus now. First bar is a G chord. Second bar is a D chord with an F sharp bass. D/F sharp means D chord with an F sharp bass note. So that we know this is a D chord, and this is the F sharp note up here on the 2nd fret of the 6th string there. So we're going to swap our fingers around and do the D like this with our 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers, and then bring the 1st finger up here to do the F sharp note there. The 3rd chord is an F chord, an F natural, which would just be a bar chord. Now this chord's out of key because the F chord is not part of the G major key, but we're going to come to why that works in a second. And then an E minor chord. So that's just 4 bars, 1 bar on each, standard sort of a ballad strum. So the reason that F chord works so well on there is because we're doing what's called a chromatically descending bass. Where we start on the G chord, which has a G bass, then we have the D with an F sharp chord, which has an F sharp note bass, then we have an F chord, which has an F note bass, and then an E minor chord, which has an E note bass. So for the bass player in a band, or even on a solo guitar, it sounds very good to get a descending bass line coming down, going down one fret at a time. And that's why the F chord works in there. It might be out of key, but it's allowed to be in there. It's an accidental, and it sounds quite good, and it just breaks up that chorus a little bit there by giving us that chromatically descending bass lines. Descending and ascending bass lines are very effective in music, and if you can get them in there by altering the chords to do it, it will definitely sound better than if you didn't. Anyway, so that's how the structure works there. We've got the intro, we've got the verse, we've got the pre-chorus, then we've got the chorus, and then after the chorus we'll do another pre-chorus type, another pre-verse, which is the same as the pre-chorus, just without the arpeggio, and then we're back to the riff again. Classic structure. I'll play it for you now, just once through, and when I get to the second verse, then I'll stop there and we'll just talk about it just a little bit more. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Just starting the second verse there. So you see how the structure works, and it all puts it together to be a very nice sort of a song once it's all put together. So that's how structure works. So you should always think about structuring your songs, and also when you structure your songs, think about how you've structured the chords to go around those songs. So this song's quite a good one. It's well worth you to practice over and over. We'll be working on a little bit more with the bridge and the lead break a bit later on, but for the meantime, any songs you write, you can certainly think about them. We'll be talking about bridges and lead breaks a little bit later on anyway, and I'll show you what I do for the bridge and the lead break in that song as well. So it's well worth the practice to get that riff right too if you really want to work on it. I'll play it one more time for you nice and slowly, just so you can actually hear exactly what's going on. Up to speed. It'll take quite a bit of practice to start using the pentatonic scale style licks in there, the slide and the hammer on and pull off like we've got, but it's well worth to learn. It's probably the first really good riff you'll get to learn for a while, so we'll be working on more on it later, like I say though. So have a good practice and enjoy one of the songs that I wrote.